Hello everybody, Susan here with Pumpkin Hill Stampers. I have a Stampin' Show and Tell to share with you today, and today I'm creating for this Stamping with Friends blog hop. This time round we're doing simple stamping, so I'm going to stick with stamps, ink, and paper for my project. I'm going to be using the Wildlife Wonder stamp set for my images, and I'm using stacked stone background stamp for part of embellishing with my stamps. So I'm just going to jump right in. So this one is kind of, the idea behind it is to create a card for a guy, so I'm using some darker colors. I'm using Very Vanilla, Basic Gray, and Cajun Craze. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a scenic front with my stamps, and then from there we're just going to put it together real simply. So the first thing I want to do is I want to stamp some of my stacked stone on my cardstock. So I'm using my Stamparatus. A lot of times when I use my big background stamps, I use my Stamparatus just for the ease of, if I miss any of it, I can stamp it again without having to worry about placement. So I'm putting my cardstock in here, and I'm just going to use my magnets at the top. That way when I ink this up and flip it over, I will be outside of where my stamp will come. Now I want this to come up about 2.5 inches, so I can see where I've stamped before. So I'm just going to bring this down. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a little. So I'm going to bring it down to about there. Now if I were doing a bunch of these, I might mark off where to place it, but because I can see where my background stamp was, I can just fit that in there like that. Now I'm going to be using my blend markers after I do my stamping, so I'm going to use my Memento ink to put down my images. So I just have to ink up my stamp, and then I'm just going to swing over the arm and stamp it on my background. Okay, so I can just put that down and I can press. Now the great thing about a Stamparatus is you don't get any of those roll marks from a stamp if you twist it or not. And if you stamp and it doesn't quite get your image, you can just flip back over, nothing's moved, and you can just add a little more pressure to the part that you missed. Okay, so that's pretty easy. So the Stamparatus is a great tool, especially for someone who has trouble lining up stamps, or if you have a hard time holding stamps, you can position them all and then just go for it. And then you can also do multiples all at the same time. Okay, so here is my basic background, and it's going to go on the front of my Cajun Craze card. And I left kind of a wide border because I want to kind of feel like it's a boxy kind of an image. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp the wolf image from the stamp set, and I'm stamping on Very Vanilla, but again with my Memento. Okay, so I'm going to stamp that down just like that, and I like the way we get this distinctive look where it's got all the shading in the stamp all by itself. But then on top of that, I'm going to come back in, and I've got my Smoky Slate blend. I've got the light one because I don't want to over color, but I'm just going to add some coloring to my animal here. So I think he's a wolf. So my husband said, oh, maybe he's a husky. I don't know. So whichever way you want to envision this guy, you can. But I'm just adding some coloring to the already shaded image of him. Now I'm going to leave the stone he's sitting on pretty much bare. Just let the color of the cardstock do the work for me there. Okay, now simple stamping. So I'm not using punches. I'm not using any dies or big shot embellishing, right? But I am going to use my scissors, and I'm just going to fussy cut around my image. So you can get as close to your image as you like. Some people like to leave a little halo. Some people like to get right up close. Sometimes I tell people to go ahead and color outside the line. That way when you trim out your image, you're going to have not a halo, but you'll have color on color, so it won't stick out as much. But whichever way you feel comfortable doing it, and remember, it's your card, make it your way, do what you're comfortable with. Just because I do it one way doesn't mean it's the way you have to do it, it's just one way of doing it. So I just come around my image with my paper snips, trim out my image. I'm just going to come around the bottom. Like that. Now, if you do all that trimming and you decide, let me show you, and you decide there's a little too much brightness in him, I'm just going to come back with my blend marker and I'm just going to color the edge, right? Just with the edge of my marker. So you can come back in after and just finish off your edges if you want to. Okay? Alright, so flip this back over. So here's my card, here's my stacked stone piece. So what I'm going to do is he's going to go right on here, and I'm probably going to put him up on dimensionals to really make him pop. But I want to add some more background images in with my card here. So another fun aspect of using blends is that if I color them on dark cardstock, you will see their colors. So I'm going to add some grass, and I'm also going to put this down so that I don't get it on my stone wall or my stone cliff. But this way my images can be kind of staggered in height where I want them. Just like that. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to color with my blends. So I'm going to come in with my pumpkin pie, and I'm just going to come right over my grass image here and add shading. Now that sounds strange to be shading on a gray cardstock, but as it dries, you're going to see the color pop on that gray background. So that's kind of a fun thing with these alcohol markers. Right? People think, oh, they're great and brilliant and bright and we love to do coloring images with them, but you can use them for this as well. You can add color to darker cardstock to have your images really be differentiated. And I'm going to come in, this is Mossy Meadow, and I'm going to come in with my fine point, and I'm just going to line those stems, just so we have two colors kind of popping on that background. So you don't really need to be an artist for this, right? You're just going over the images that are already provided by doing the stamps. Just remember to stamp with Memento so that your black doesn't run. Okay, and really this is just background, so I'm not too worried about being perfect. Okay, so now we've got the card, we've got the front, we've got our wolf. So let's just put that, oh wait, I want to do my sentiment first. So this card is going to be to a great guy, because that's one of the sentiments in this great set of Wildlife Wonder. So I'm going to put to a great guy on the front, and I'm just going to put that up here on the top. Okay. Alright, now we're going to put it together. So I'm going to get my adhesive. So and you see when I do my blends, it bleeds through, so don't put it all together and then color it, because you don't want it to bleed through on your base card. So do all your coloring and then adhere it. Alright, so there's that, and then I'm going to take my wolf and I'm going to pop him up on some dimensional so that he's a little bit more distinctive than just flat on the card. And then I'm just going to have him sitting here in the grass, just kind of hanging out there on the ledge. Okay, so now for the inside, I'm going to stamp birthday wishes on here. So this can be a birthday card, just like that. And I'm going to repeat this grass in here on center too. So I'm going to repeat that same idea of adding a little bit of color with my blends. So right over the top. Just to make the inside of that card pop just a little bit for our recipient. Nice and simple, easy coloring, easy stamping, easy layering. So, some people call these SIP cards, stamps, ink, and paper. Right? Some of us just say it's simple stamping. So whichever way you want to think about it. It's just a nice fun way to create a card, and that didn't take very long. And there we go. Alright guys, I hope you loved the show and tell today. If you have any questions, remember you can comment either here on YouTube or over on the blog link, and ask questions. Let me know what you think of the project, and I'd love to hear from you. Alright everybody, have a great day. Do some fun stamping. Bye.